All right. So anybody doing anything fun tonight for Halloween? You guys got some plans? Good. Hopefully not anything too crazy or dangerous. That means that you guys are doing crazy, dangerous things? Okay, you're not, right? So we watched a few videos, and you guys hopefully did, and report on those. So I wanted to get some feedback, a couple of responses about what you thought, or if you had questions about the Drive Free, Retire Rich Dave Ramsey video. So what are thoughts or insights or questions you had about that video? The Drive Free, Retire Rich, the car video. Any thoughts about that? It made you mad. Why?
It's right about you doing the used car thing, but like it's also frustrating because you also have to save that amount of money.
Okay. So do you think it's doable?
Yes.
Most people get mad at it because they just bought a brand new car that's too expensive.
No.
Did you just do that?
No. It's a used car.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah.
What happens when nobody buys new cars anymore? Because everybody's buying new ones.
You think that's going to happen?
What happens?
It's a good question. The earth will end. So hopefully, if you want to keep the earth from ending, then buy a new car so that the rest of us can buy it from you in 2 years when it has 30,000 miles on it and drive it for another 10 years, and you can take the big hit of depreciation, right? No. People are always going to buy cars. Did you have a comment too? No?
Well, it's actually better, the used car is actually better to upgrade it than getting a new car, because actually like 25% actually loses their value.
Yeah, so you don't want a brand new car, right?
So it's actually better to upgrade it better than buy a new car anyway.
No?
No?
You don't want a new car because you'll drive it off the lot and it depreciates, it loses its value, right? So you want somebody else to take that depreciation and then you buy it from them when they want to go buy a new car again. Does that make sense? So you want to find the car that you want or that you'd like. Again, you could buy a 2-year-old car with all the bells and whistles for cheaper than a brand new car that's just basic, the same vehicle, right? So if you can get like a 4Runner or something like that, Toyota 4Runner, you can get a whole lot nicer vehicle 2017 than going and buying a brand new 2019 or 2020, because it's going to cost a whole lot more money to get the 2020. And is a 2-year-old car, the 2017, is that going to break down? Is that like, people are like, well, you know, it needs to be reliable. Is a 2017 car going to be reliable? Yeah, it's going to be reliable, guys. You're not going to use all your money getting it fixed and repaired. So those are lies we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better when we buy a new car, which is stupid because then you drive it off the lot and it loses a lot of its value, right? So the key to that is don't ever buy a new car unless your parent works at Toyota or GMC or Ford or whatever and can get the discount that's maybe better than a 1 or 2-year-old car. If you can get a new car for the same price as a 2-year-old car because your dad works there or mom works there, you have my blessing, right? Get the new car. Otherwise, get a used car. And then you want to get the car that's best for you. So if you're going to be traveling all over, you know, get a car that has good gas mileage and get you places, not the big truck that's going to be a gas guzzler. On the other hand, if you're going to be towing horses or trailers and things, you need to have a truck that can do that, right? So figure out what you need, try to get the best value you can, and try to save up and pay cash for as much as you can rather than get loans, because as we know with debt, you're paying a whole lot more for that vehicle on a loan, paying the interest than you would just paying it for cash, right? All right, let's talk about the videos with student loans. The first one you watched, first couple were longer. They're the student, let's see, there's faces of student debt and voices of student debt, right? So here's faces of student debt. And we'd normally watch this if we had more time. And then voices of student debt. What did you guys learn from these guys that were taking out tens of thousands of dollars in loans? Did they seem super excited about it? No. What was the feeling that they were sharing with you guys?
Scared?
Yeah, scared, upset, stressed, right? One guy said crushing. Okay, do you guys want crushing, depressing, stressful things in your life? Is that what you guys want? No. So I'm trying to paint a picture, okay? So over here, this is, life is great now, my future self will deal with that. I'm going to borrow all that I can and live great now and not worry about the student loan debt. And then later you'll end up like those guys on the video, feeling depressed and crushed and all of your doors are closed and opportunities, right? Or how about the two ladies at the end that were only like 2 minutes that graduated debt-free, right? They're over here, and do they seem happy or do they seem depressed and crushed with life? They're pretty excited, right? They're like, I graduated debt-free. In fact, I called my teacher from high school and said, hey, guess what? I just graduated and I'm debt-free. Don't have any student loans. So which one do you guys want to be? You guys are mostly freshmen, right? So you can choose now, instead of the seniors that take my classes and say, why didn't I take this class when I was a freshman? That would have been a whole lot better than as a senior, because I wouldn't have had as much debt, car loans, et cetera, right? So we're going to talk about and go through and answer any questions you have about student loans, hopefully clear some of those things up. But I want you to think in your mind, it has to be an emotional thing. You can't just think about it and be like, well, when I get a job, it'll take care of it. You know, again, my future self will take care of that. You have to look and see these are real people with real debt, and they aren't happy. They're stressed. They're depressed. They feel crushed by this debt. The other girl, right, that would call, and they kept calling her, and she's like, leave me alone, trying to get the payment. Okay, you don't want that to be happening to you. So I'm trying to paint a picture and create emotion and feeling within you, because then the feelings that we have go to our actions and behaviors, which then lead to our outcomes. And so the outcome that I want for you guys, this is one of the reasons why we encourage you to take this class, is to graduate with the least amount of debt possible. Would you guys like that? Least amount of debt possible. So you have to make some decisions, and borrowing everything that you can and then taking your friends out for drinks and using it to buy a car and going out to eat all the time is not the answer. That's not the way to do it. So let's talk about this. And if you have questions as we go, feel free to raise your hand. This is when we'll answer any and all questions you have. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get them for you for student loans, okay? So this is the primary funding for tuition. There's loans up here, that's the biggest portion. But second is scholarships, family helps, jobs, right? Some people have saved with jobs for college, and then others are working. How many of you are actually in paid employment while you're in school? Raise your hand. All right. Look around. These are the smart people. How many of you are paying for yourself, whether it's you applying for scholarships and getting them, not necessarily the scholarship that everybody gets, but you applying for scholarships that maybe other people wouldn't get and getting it, or saving up yourself? How many of you are, or working, paying for part of your schooling, not having it paid for all by a parent or grandparent? Okay, good. It shows that those who pay for part of their schooling do better. Why? Because you have stake in the game, right? If you're paying for something, you're going to take it and work harder because you're paying for it, rather than, is this on a timer? Oh no. Rather than just having it given to you. So anything that we have some skin in the game. And those who work, it shows those who work 15, under 20 hours, but usually 10 to 15 hours a week during school year, actually tend to do better grade-wise than those who don't have any work. So that's kind of interesting. That's average, not always, right? So I would suggest you get some type of a job. What's the one where, let's see, it's where you can work and it's work-study, right? Be a work-study student. If you can qualify for that, then those are usually pretty good. They understand that you're a student first, and so a lot of the time that you're there, if there's nothing to do, you can then spend some time on your homework or on school as well, where if you're at Arby's or, you know, across the street at Chick-fil-A or whatever, you're not going to be able to spend any of your work time on your student stuff, right? So, all right, savings and other things. We're going to talk about where to look for scholarships. Since you're mostly freshmen, you can still go and apply and get different scholarships outside of NMSU, right? There's scholarships available, especially if you come and you do great and you're getting high grades your first semester and first year and apply, then there's lots of scholarships that you can be getting. And people don't apply, you may be thinking, well, lots of people probably apply for those, I'm not going to. Well, if that's what everybody thinks and there's only a few people applying for the scholarships, guess who gets them? those people that apply for scholarships. All right. So how much debt do you think we're in nationally with student loan debt? A lot, right? All right, what does that say? 1.7 trillion. Right? Credit cards, total credit card debt across the U.S. is it's 882 billion, and auto loans is 750 billion. And you add those together, and it's not even as much as student loan debt. So there is a student loan debt crisis. Some people in government want to wipe out student loans. I think that would be a bad mistake. It'd reward people for not, you're the person who goes through and graduate debt-free or with very little debt, and somebody else that goes and gets $90,000 of debt, and then government comes in and just wipes everybody's debt out. Is that fair? That doesn't seem fair. It's rewarding people that weren't taking responsibility. All right. Let's look at national state of economic. Ooh, what was that? All right. So this is a little off. It's a little behind. It's 1.7. This is 1.6. But we're going to kind of look at some of these. Members of the class, this is a little older, that's why, too, of 2014, graduated with an average debt. So all these numbers are going to be higher or worse, because 2019, if you're graduating this year, or 2020, you guys are going to be, what, 2022? Is worse than 2014, right? So the average is about 29,000. It's probably 30-something now, 33. Student loan debt. 4 in 10 millennials say they are overwhelmed with debt. You saw some of those with the videos. More than half of millennials say they're living paycheck to paycheck and unable to save for the future. What's one of the best ways to stop living paycheck to paycheck and save some? What did we talk about? What? Yeah, stop buying things you cannot afford, right? Spend less on going out to eat and spending things. 75% of credit card carrying college students were unaware of late payment charges. If you don't pay on time, right, then there's a late fee, and if you don't pay it in full, then you pay interest. So it's due on the 5th, you don't pay till the 8th. Now you're paying interest, but you're also paying a $35 late fee. Now, being 3 days late, are they going to report that to the credit bureaus? Is that going to go in your credit report? No, it's only if it's 30, 60, or 90 days late that it goes on your credit report. But if you're late, then there's a late fee. So that sounds like a good way to waste money. Just pay late fees. 43% of millennials use costly non-bank borrowing like payday loans, pawn shops, rent-to-own. Did you guys know that there's that many people using those? That is crazy. Those guys are raking in the dough at 250+% interest rate on all these millennials like you that aren't wise financially, and they're losing financially, right? So hopefully you won't do that. Nearly 1 in 4 adults admit they do not pay their bills on time. Only 17 states require students to take a high school course. How many of you took a course focused on, or at least part of it with a few weeks is focused on personal finance? Okay, how many of you talked about it maybe in an economics class or some other math class or something, right? So would it be helpful, do you think, to know about money in a high school class? I think so. I mean, we take all these other classes, and I love all the classes, but some of them just aren't as helpful to our lives as learning about money. Only 20 states require students to take even an economics class, and the number of states with standardized testing has dropped. So this goes on and on about the state stuff, so we don't need to do that. All right. So how many of you see college as an investment, investing in yourself, investing in your future earning power, right? Hopefully you do. That's why you're here. Hopefully none of you are here just because I graduated high school and all my friends were going to college, so I guess I just decided to go to college. If that's you, you need to figure things out quick, find a life coach and get with it, people, okay? You should know that at the end we'll show and almost double you'll earn with a college degree than you will with just a high school degree. So you're going to make a lot more money over the life of your working life than you would if you didn't have a college degree, right? But you can do it without strapping yourself with so much debt and student loans. So it is an investment, like it says, $1 million more than a high school graduate, right? So here's a few ways to pay for college. You save or do work study. That's your money. You're working while you go to school, or you use your savings. There's scholarships and grants. This is free money. Any of you filled out, has anybody, well, you won't raise your hand. If you have not filled the FAFSA out, I don't know if they make you, do they make you do that to go to college here? If you haven't filled the FAFSA out, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You should be filling the FAFSA out, because scholarships and grants, there's many that you don't qualify for if you don't fill it out. And you may think, well, my parents make too much. Fill it out anyways and be open to some of these things, right? That's free money. You don't have to repay that. So your money and grants and scholarships are where you want to be, right? Over here, their money that you must pay back, student loans, debt, is what you want to minimize. So let's see, student loan STDs. Did you guys watch this video? STDs, that's funny. All right, here we go.
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get grammar.
I write pretty much all day.
I got mine when I was 18.
I got that when I was 21.
Student loans.
Student
I
loans.
contracted student loans at 19 and now one of millions.
Almost half of all Americans between the ages of 18 and 22 are fiscally active. Many do not understand the risks they are taking when they contract a student loan.
All my friends were going to college. I just wanted to fit in. Now I have a degree in comparative philosophy, no job, and a full-blown case of student loans.
Studies show that those infected with student loan debt are less likely to date regularly or have bed frames. Even if not exposed to student loan debt directly, they can be transmitted by legal marriage.
I married the love of my life, except she didn't tell me about her student loan debt. Now it's our student loan debt.
It is possible to lead a healthy, active, fulfilling life with student loan debt. Just not for very long.
I used to love cereal. Then I contracted student loan debt, and now it's all I eat. I miss protein.
Student loans only get worse with time and can manifest in many ways. Studio apartments, having roommates well into your 30s, top ramen, and driving a car older than yourself. If you have been exposed to student loan debt, contact an accountant today. There is no cure for student loan debt, and there is no hope.
So that's the parents.
Have rich parents.
Have rich parents.
Or play the lotto. Hey, you never know.
That's a lottery. Don't play the lotto, by the way. It's not how you get rich. All right, so you don't want to contract student loan STDs, guys. Yeah?
Now, what if let's say you had student loans and you had to switch it over to collections, and then you didn't pay it back for a while, right? And then it just sat in collections for a long time.
Yeah, that doesn't go to collections. They garnish your wages.
You ask someone else to buy that debt from collections at a cheaper price. But don't say it's you.
Yeah, student loans don't work that way. So student loans, we'll get to that, especially federal student loans.
Guy that paid off like $30 million worth of debt for like $60K from collections, and then just forgave all of it.
Send that to me and I'll look at it and then we'll talk about it. But student loans are different. Student loans are federal, and we'll get to this, but they will garnish your wages. You can't just kind of forgive student loans. You do if you have a tax lien or things that you owe taxes on, you can't get rid of those either. So you're going to declare bankruptcy and maybe your medical debt or credit card debt or some other things, but your student loan debt and your taxes that you owe, they don't go away. So they can take those, garnish your wages without your consent because you already agreed to that when you signed up for student loans. So that's not a good plan. There we go. All right, so exhaust all other aid before you take out a student loan. So that's a major takeaway, right? You guys are getting that in your head. So let's talk about some scholarships. Who is benefiting from the lottery scholarship? Does everybody get that? Next semester, right, if you actually do well. So this is from 2018. The lottery scholarship gets a big increase, it says. You guys know how much it is? Yeah, so it says, if you can read that, the scholarship value will rise to $22.94 per semester at research institutions, which I think is just basically UNM and NMSU. up from 1721, and that amounts to 1,146 more annually. Comprehensive four-year institutions, which are others around the state maybe, get 1,560 versus 1,169. So $22.94 per semester is free money. That's pretty good, right? Is that something then you want to go and lose because you didn't do well? No, you want to play around and have fun and do things, and then you didn't do great that one semester, and then you lose your scholarship? No. So I have somebody that works right across the hall from me, and I told her we were doing student loans, and she's like, oh gosh, I need to come and sit in on that class. And I said, well, what would you tell my class if you know what you know now, if you knew it back then? And she said, well, first, I didn't understand student loans, and it is crushing. I have this payment every single month, and I just think every time I pay it, what else I could be doing with that money than paying it to stupid student loans, right? She said she got it and was doing things, spending it in ways that she shouldn't have, and so she got more than she should have gotten. And she didn't understand, like she had a friend or roommate that got some student loans, and she was working. She was living at home. Her parents provided a car and food and things, and she was working a couple of different jobs, and all of that money, instead of borrowing less or paying towards the student loans, she was just spending and wasn't saving any of it. While her roommate, not roommate because she lived at home, a friend, was putting some of that money towards the student loan debt, and then when they graduated, she had a lot of debt, and her friend had way less debt because she was chipping away at it, right? And then one semester or maybe a year, she went and lived in a sorority house when 2 minutes away was her parents' house, and she's like, that was dumb, because sororities are expensive, and I had to pay to live there. So you want to think, balancing the experience of what you want to have, because you don't want college life to suck, right? But you don't also want to go crazy and go in a lot of debt. So think about that, and just, again, go back and watch, if you're thinking of doing crazy things, the Faces of Student Debt, and see what they say. All right, what about, here's some different NMSU scholarships. Anybody apply for other scholarships at NMSU? There's college level ones and ACES. There's departmental ones, right? In fact, I'm the chair of I'm in FCS, and so Family Child Sciences, Family Consumer Sciences. I'm the chair of the committee that does scholarships for our department, and we have a lot of scholarships. Every department has a lot of scholarships. So you put stuff in here. There's all of these top scholarships. They give you a lot of money, right? Then there's state funded, like the lottery. Then there's institutional ones, that's institution-wide, that are all these different ones, out-of-state ones. But then there's college ones and departmental ones. So if you don't know about those, then go ask somebody, because you're going to have department ones, there's going to be college ones, there's institution-wide ones, and then there's these large ones. And so if you're doing well, if you're getting high GPAs and do great your first year, go back and apply for some of these top scholarships and see what you can get. Again, a lot of people don't apply for them because they think, I probably won't get it. And so many people say that, there's very few people that apply for scholarships, and that is free money, right? If they give you $1,500, that's sweet, free money. Don't go and use that for stupid stuff. Use it to minimize any student loans. TFS, this is tuition finding sources, right? Free access to over 7 million scholarships. This is outside of NMSU. That's just out there. There's lots of different places. You get started, you click on the link, put some information in. These are all on the handout, these links, so you can look at these if you go back. Here's another one. Best scholarship search platform, FastWeb, CapEx, Unigo, Big Future, okay? There's lots of places. So if you spent the time even, so my son's doing this, he's a senior at Oñate, and he has fourth period free, and during fourth period before, he was studying for the ACT, right? And the SAT. So he studied to get a high score in those, and now he is focused on finding and applying for scholarships. That's his job. He does some weeding and stuff for some older people that we know and gets paid a little bit, but he didn't have a full-time job because he's focused on applying for scholarships. And if he does that, then he could end up with tens of thousands of dollars of scholarships, which then would allow him not to have to do much as far as work goes in college, right? So you guys can still do that. You're freshmen or first semester. Go and apply for these. Anybody done any of these outside of NMSU, applied for scholarships outside of NMSU? Good. Do more of it. Get out there and apply for stuff. That's free. Exhaust all other aid. Well, you can't exhaust scholarship aid if you're not applying for anything. So it's usually worth more, your hour per hour pay, applying for scholarships that you have a good chance of getting, than going and doing, $8 or $9 an hour job. Not that you shouldn't be working too, but spend some time doing this. All right, student loans. Now we're in loans. Private student loans versus federal student loans. So private student loans, those are where you can just go and get it from banks that they're not the federal, right? Which are kind of the subsidized and unsubsidized and stuff like that that we mostly talk about. Most people are not going and getting private loans. You're getting all the loans that are here that you go to financial aid and they're showing you what to get are federal. So we're not going to talk a lot about private student loans. They usually cost more than federal. They can't be forgiven. They can't have forbearance. If you run on a hard time and need to wait a little while, okay, these don't have as many benefits that way as the federal student loans do. So you want to do federal student loans first and then private, but if at all possible, you stay away from private student loans, okay? All right, we'll skip that. Federal student loans, so there's need-based and non-need-based. So what's the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized? Who wants to tell us that? This is a key thing to know. Key takeaway from today.
Is it one of them, like, you can pay later on? Or no?
You're on the right track?
Unsubsidized still gathers interest while you're still in school?
Yes, good. So I'll repeat that for you guys. So unsubsidized means that you borrow money and there's an interest rate. Let's say it's 5.5%. And that interest is accruing while you're in school, right? So you borrowed $6,000, and by the end, 4 years later, that $6,000 has added all that interest for 4 years, and now you owe $9,000 on that one loan because it's unsubsidized. Subsidized, which is need-based, they pay the interest for you or don't charge you interest while you're in school. So you get a student loan now, an unsubsidized of $6,000. And 4 years later, when you graduate and you have to start paying 3 to 6 months after you graduate, it's $6,000 instead of $9,000. Does this make sense? Because it was subsidized. So they're subsidizing you by paying or not charging you the interest. So which one's better? Subsidized. You want subsidized. So let's say you go to financial aid and they're super helpful and say, hey, Johnny, you qualify for $5,000 subsidized, or let's say $3,000 subsidized and $6,000 unsubsidized. A lot of people say, wow, $9,000. Let's say that's for the year. I want all of it. And you take it. You really only needed $5,000, but you took $9,000, and then you go and spend it on stupid things, right? And go out to eat all the time. You're like, this is awesome, college, I love it. Come here, I'll buy you some drinks. I just got my student loans. So that's what your friends do, right? You guys don't do that, but your friends that you may know do that. Instead, what would be a smarter choice? You qualify for $3,000 subsidized, $6,000, so that's 9, unsubsidized, and you only need $5,000 total for the year based on your budget, and you say, I don't need that much. What would the solution be? What would you take? Good, you guys hear that? All of the subsidized, $3,000, and then of the $6,000 unsubsidized, you'd only take 2, which equals the 5 that you need. Does this make sense? Did you know that you could say, I don't want all of that loan, I just want $2,000 of it? Did you know you could do that? Please do that, okay? Don't just take it just because you qualify. Don't trust the federal government and student aid that says, hey, you qualify for 9, 3, and 6, and you think, if I qualify, that must means I need it. I guess I just take it. And if I have some left over, then I can use it for the next time. Guess what? You're not going to have any left over, usually. You're going to spend it all on stupid things, and you don't need that much. So again, I'm trying to help you guys graduate with less debt, right? So only take what you need, and you only need it. How do you know what you need? You only know what you need if you know what your expenses are, right? So you should track your expenses and see what those are. How much do I actually need per semester or per year or per month while I'm in school? What if I work 10 hours instead of 0? How much could I earn? And now how much do I need? What if I apply for some scholarships and I got these few scholarships? Now how much do I need for this total amount that I have? Okay, now I only need actually $2,500. And I qualify for $2,000 subsidized and $6,000 unsubsidized. I'm going to take the $2,000 subsidized and $500 of the $6,000 unsubsidized. Does this make sense? This is key, people. Do this, and you will be happier at the end. You'll be over here instead of these people that are in misery and crushing debt. Okay? All right. Then these are, Perkins loans. If you have tremendous need or lots extra need, then you can get Perkins loans. And then these are more expensive, and usually they're for parents, can get them for dependent undergraduate children that are still with them or under them. So the main thing you guys care about is the subsidized and unsubsidized. Does everybody understand that? If there's a question on the exam at the end that said, which of these do you not pay interest on while you're in school or something like that, the answer would be what? Subsidized, right? If you're not paying interest, then it's subsidized. Anybody not understand the difference? Everybody understand that you can accept less than you qualify for? Okay. So, as you get scholarships and even some loans and things, you have to show that you are making progress. So the lottery scholarship, did they give it to you the first semester? No, because why? They didn't want to give you money and then have you go and just party your first semester and get a 0.8 on your GPA and fail out of school, right? And they just wasted their money. So they want to say, yeah, you can go and show that you can actually be a good student. You want to learn. You get some good grades, some decent grades, then we'll give that to you. So your GPA matters. You have to be completing so many of your classes, and you can't have over 150% of your allowable hours, because there are some students that are just like eternal students, and they keep changing, what they want to do, their majors. And then they get to 150%, like you should have graduated in 4 years, and now they're at like 6 years. Guess what? All aid goes away, because we don't want to keep paying for you to go to school forever, right? So be mindful of that. All right. So do understand the full cost. Definitely complete the FAFSA. Weigh your federal loan options. Definitely go for the subsidized before the unsubsidized. But again, if you qualify for subsidized and unsubsidized, but you don't need it because you're working, you got some scholarships, you have some savings, your parents are helping a little bit, don't take any, right? If you don't need it, don't take any. Like my friend that's across the hall from me, she was working at home and things. She really didn't need it. She was working and could pay enough, made enough to pay, but she was just paying it on other fun things and sorority and all these other things that she still borrowed money. And then she's like, I could have been debt free, and now I'm still paying this payment, which really sucks. Is this important, guys? Explore potential career earnings. Do some careers pay more than others? Do some majors allow you to get paid more than others? Yeah. Do you have to only go after the highest paying professions? No, you want to partner that with your passion, right? What you want to do, but you want to do work and be employed in something that you have passion for that can also provide sufficient for the needs that you want and the lifestyle you want. So you got to figure that out. What passions do I have? What interests do I have that I can, this is on a timer, that I can still make enough money and then get the education you need for that, right? Don't overlook public in-state colleges and training facilities. So the people there at the end that didn't have any debt, they went to, one of the girls went to like, what was it? Community college, and got a couple of degrees, right? Not bachelor's, but associates, and then transferred over to the state school. So you guys all sitting here, congratulations, because what are you in? Unless you're out of state. Are most of you from Mexico or New Mexico? Or like Arizona, Texas, whatever, that's about the same. So if you're paying in-state tuition, congratulations, and you're at a state school, the tuition here is a lot less than, say, a lot of other places you could have gone, right? Plus, then, if you do well, you get what? The lottery scholarship. So you're already ahead of most of these other people around the U.S. trying to go to expensive schools right off, not having a lottery scholarship, paying out-of-state tuition, etc. So you don't have to be to an Ivy League to get a good education. So congratulations, you're already doing that. All right, so savings plans. We'll just not take a lot of time here because this is saving up for college, and you guys are already in college. But just so you know, there's 529 plans, and that's prepaid and savings. That means that you can start saving, like say if you have a 10-year-old sister or brother, right? And they start paying, you pay kind of today's tuition rates, and you pay into it. And then when they go to college, right, 8 years later, then they're paying today's rates rather than, because does college go up? Yeah, it's going up higher than regular inflation. So you pay today's dollars and go later. Savings is like mutual funds and things we'll talk about when we talk about investing. You have some options and choices, you put money in there, it grows, and then you have money tax-free to go to college. So that's 529. Educational ESAs are even better. I think we actually, yeah, okay. So the savings. ESAs are actually better because there's more options for investing it. So you can invest in more things. You can take it anywhere. And so the 529 plans are only certain states and certain universities, where the ESA is kind of like, hey, it's my money. I put it in as long as I use it for education. 529 is only for college, and ESA can be K through 12 and college. So there's a lot more options that you have with the ESA accounts. And so that's what I suggest if you're doing that. All right. What time are we at? All right, we don't have to. You guys remember this. This is one of those little videos, responsible borrowing from FAFSA, that just talked about make sure that you know what you're doing, and then all right. So we talked about this already. That's hard to read, huh? Don't use extra funds for fun. Make sure you keep a running log of what you're spending. So remember, limit borrowing. Understand the terms that you're signing up for. Prepay student loans. That's what my colleague's friend was doing, prepaying some of those student loans. And when they graduated, she had a lot less debt than the other one. Match your financial needs and only take what you need. Sign up for automatic payments. So I know a lot of you may feel like this when you borrow money, that people are mean and want you to pay it back. Sorry, but that's how it is. So take responsibility. You know, be a person of integrity, that if you're going to borrow money, whether it's on a credit card or a student loan or an auto loan or from a friend or from a family member, and you tell them, yes, part of this agreement is you give me money and I'm going to pay you back, that then you pay them back. If you don't want to do that, then don't borrow any money. All right. So there's a lot of resources you can go to for repayments, but I want to get into repayment and how much student loans can cost you, right? So we talked about credit cards. Remember that like every dollar was like $1.61? You buy something for $1 and it's actually $1.61 because of the interest on a credit card. That's similar to a student loan. So let me show you how this works. So there's different options for repayment plans. There's called the standard repayment plan. That's just, it's 10 years, and based on the interest rate, you pay a certain amount over 10 years and then you're done. Okay? That tends to be higher payment every month, right, than say the graduated payment plan, because the monthly payment plan starts out low and then increases over time as hopefully you are earning more what? Money, right? So there's the graduated. Then you have this extended payment plan that goes up to 25 years. And what do we know with car loans and other things, the longer that we have? Do you pay more or less interest?
More.
More interest, right? So that's a stupid one to do. Income-based. So depending on how much you earn, then you pay 10 to 15% of that, and that can go up to 15 years. So you want to check what your interest rate is and see how long it can take between the 10 and 25 years. But I want to show you, this is a key slide here. And again, you can get these on Canvas. So this is somebody that owes $40,000. They graduated and owe $40,000 in debt on their student loans, right? And now they have to pay it back. Well, the option one, remember the standard, the 10 years? They're paying $460 a month. The graduated, remember, it starts lower and goes higher, starts lower. Instead of $460, they're only paying $278 because they're like, you guys just barely got a job, you're not making as much, and 5, 8, 10 years later, you're gonna be making more money. So at the end, they're paying $831 a month. Think of what you could do every month instead of pay $831, right? That's pretty sucky. So $460, this is nice here, but it's not so nice here. And then people are like, ooh, that looks nice. 25 years. So which one would you guys choose? 10 years of this, 10 years of this, 25 years of that. Who would do the first one, the 10 years, 460? All right, who would do the maybe, I mean, graduated isn't too bad because you can make extra payments. If you start low and then all of a sudden get a bump in pay, you can pay more. And who would be like, hey, I don't care if it's there forever, I'm just gonna pay the lowest amount I have to right now. Anybody? Well, this is the total loan paid, and this is how much interest they're paying on $40,000. So standard, how much do they pay? $15,000 in interest. Option two is $19,000, that's $4,200 more. And they more than double what they borrowed by doing the extended pay. So yeah, it's nicer, but you have 25 years that you're, again, you know, you're struggling with debt and having this over your head instead of feeling free and debt-free for 25 years, and you're paying $43,000 in debt or in interest instead of 15. That's 3 times as much almost. Does this make sense, guys? So again, this is the same with credit cards. It's the same with car payments. If you get a 4-year or 5-year car payment versus an 8-year, 8-year might look nicer because the payment's going to be lower, but what are you going to be paying more of? Interest. Minimize the amount of time you're in debt. Pay it off as fast as possible because the longer you wait, your money's going out to debt, to interest. You want to be investing money, earning interest, not paying interest, right? Anybody have any questions about this? So you know the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. You know you can borrow less and deny some of your loans. And you know that you are going to have to pay it back and you want to just pay it back more quickly, right? These are some key takeaways. So, do you want to consolidate your debt? It depends on your situation and things. But when I graduated, I had like 5 or 6 different debts, different loans from going through college. You know, $4,000 and $2,600 and whatever. And as I paid those off, I got chunks and just paid them off. That felt a lot better than having a huge, just one thing, because the payment's usually lower. So then that does what? If you're paying less, extends the time. So I would prefer to keep them separately and see the successes as I pay them off, right? Other people say, well, I can consolidate into one and it's a lower payment, and so I can handle that better. Yeah, you can, but now we're back to this, right? All right. You versus student loans, there we go. So let me just tell you quickly about deferment and forbearance. Deferment is if you have fallen into hardship, you have medical issues, you're in the military or different things that happen, and you can defer your payments. So after you graduate, you have to start paying your student loans within 6 months, 3 to 6 months. If you defer, you could defer for a year, and there's reasons and opportunities to do that, again, like I said. If it's a subsidized, then you defer it and they continue to pay the interest and subsidize you during that deferment period, right? If it's unsubsidized, you're still getting interest on that, but you're not having to make a payment. Forbearance is when you try to push it to an unknown time because, again, of certain circumstances, like you're unable to work because you got hurt or different things. But that's always going to cost, the discretionary or the mandatory is going to cost interest always, And discretionary is you're asking them to please forbear, and they can choose whether they want to or not, okay? This is where if you default, they will start garnishing your wages, okay? So loan rehabilitation is they look at it and say, okay, how much do you earn? They get in your finances, they figure out what you're spending, and they say you can afford 20 or 25%, we're going to garnish your wages that much. And you have no say over it. They're just going to do that. Loan consolidation is where they can take it and they consolidate it, but they're still garnishing your wages, right? And then loan repayment is they work out a repayment plan for you, and if you don't pay it, then they garnish your wages. You guys they garnish your wages. So loan repayment also is a big chunk. So if you have money in savings and you're not paying, they can go in and take money from your savings or an inheritance or whatever and pay off the loan. That's if you default. So you don't want to default. Anybody heard of loan forgiveness? If that's your goal, change it. Because out of all the many people that think they're going to get loan forgiveness and apply, about 3% get loan forgiveness. And that's making on-time payments, any of them, even the 278, for 10 years, and working in as a school teacher or in some type of a job like that that's helpful to the community. And there's very few that they provide that. And then they will forgive after that. It's better just to minimize your loans, guys, and pay it off as quickly as possible, okay? So, later life is impacted. Remember the guys over here, the faces of student debt, that they felt trapped and all those things? Homeownership, that may be delayed because you got this big payment for student loans. Entrepreneurship, you want to try new things, but you feel like you can't because you got to get a job, because you got to pay your student loans. Your net worth goes down. Retirement savings you're not doing. You want to go and live on your own, but you feel like, I can't, I should live with my parents still because then I can use that money to pay my student loan. So it's just not as fun, guys, in the future if you're doing that. So, let me just end with this. Is college worth it? Yes, I'm not saying don't do college. Doctoral degree, you make this much more. Professional degree, that's like a business degree or something, or a law degree, you're making a lot more. Masters is just like masters in other things. Bachelor's degree, associates, some college, and high school. So is it worth it to go to college? Yes, in a degree that you can actually get a job in that pays enough and that you can get a job. Yes?
Now, why not just skip college, pick up a book and read it, and $30 for internet?
Register in the military.
Well, are there people that didn't graduate from college that are billionaires? Yeah.
What do you really pay?
So you can, right? There's people that are real estate billionaires, and you got lots of people that made it. So if you want to do that, then you got to figure that out and do it. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday.